Bam, here we go. Hey, what's up? This is Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. This is my weekly video blog called Bullheaded, a review of the Houston Texans news, as well as a preview of the upcoming game matchups. So, this week, the Texans are going on a road trip, like a road trip. They're going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in the city of London. The Texans are going to be playing in one of the NFL's International Series games, and so it's going to be the London game. So that means Sunday morning, you got to wake up real early and catch that 8:30 Central start time for that game. So we'll get into particulars of all that and a little bit later. But right now, I just want to do a quick little recap from week 8. Really, I don't have a lot to just really dive into for that game. Once again, great performance by the Texans. It looked like they was just gonna let the game go or whatnot, but yeah, they stayed fighting all throughout the second half. Fourth quarter, great performance by Watson, 2 touchdowns, able to take the lead and secure the game. It says, I mean, what hasn't already been said, excuse me, excuse me, what hasn't already been said about Watson so far, getting kicked in the eye and throwing a touchdown with one eye closed. Like, come on, man. Like, by the time, by the time it's time to record this, like, everything's pretty much been said and done. And hey, man, that's up there with DeAndre Hopkins' spin move. I don't care. So, great work for those guys, man. Both sides of the ball as well. Um, what I will say, unfortunately, Watt had to suffer that pectoral injury, a season-ending injury at that. So he's done for the year. And just want to touch on a little bit about like what does that just really kind of mean, and so that question is kind of a loaded question because, I mean, yeah, Watts hurt, so they're going to throw a Minu in there. They're going to throw Merciless in there, and so we're going to get like some type of pass rush. And ironically, Minu, he got his he got a sack in the first matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's something that we'll kind of talk about that when that time comes. But yeah, those two guys are definitely going to step up and they'll be asked to provide the pass rush that we have left. But really, what I was trying to get at is like, what is the future of Watt with this team? He has 2 years left on his current deal, and yeah, he's getting older. And obviously, the Texans signed him so they can get some use out of him during his prime years, or they can keep him under contract during his prime years. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, like it looks like his prime is kind of like coming to an end. Teams they're still out there, putting double teams on him or whatever, but I don't think it's really as much as I don't think it's as much as like what the commentators or the TV networks want to actually highlight. I think it's some people are kind of backed off of that and just kind of use the one-on-ones, but at the same time, you still have some of those linemen like barely new or whatever, and just not just not used to somebody of that magnitude of talent coming at them the way Watt comes at you. So. I think he's still good. He's probably not the dominant. He's probably not at the level that he once was before, and that's fine. Like even if he's just like I'm not saying he's fell way off. I'm just saying he might be like one or two notches down from that level. So that's not a bad thing. That's still a good thing considering how great he played at the time of him, getting that contract, and how he's carried this team at some of our darkest times as far as like dark being in the wins and loss column. So um, with that being said, it's little 2 years they're coming up, and a lot of times this where teams start getting that itch on the phone, like what can they do to get rid of this? What can get rid of this person? Get rid of that person? Which kind of draft picks can we get? Because the Texans been slinging draft picks around as well, like crazy just trying to build this current team up heading into this season. So it's going to be a lot of decisions made off of that, on who to keep, who to pay, who to, let go, and all this other stuff. So definitely Watt is going to be included in that discussion, as his contract nears the end and as he's like going past the age of 30. Like he's 30 right now, but, 31, 32, teams start getting a little, skeptical about, what you can do as far as being a player. So, um, that's kind of what I just was thinking about with that. Like, what does this injury really mean? Like, he's out for the season, and on top of that, he's had injuries like in recent years as well that kind of taken a little bit away at his ability, might have chipped at him a little bit, but at the same time, it's like it's also a business, so even if he wasn't hurt and he was just, doing great or whatever, it's still a possibility. The Texans probably would have moved on from him or whatnot. That's just how this league works. So, but anywho, um, that's what I got to say about that. Now, on to the game. So, as I mentioned, Texans are going on the road, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in London, Wembley Stadium, I believe, or Tottenham Stadium. Let me just double check so I don't be mistaken. So they're going on the road. They're going to be taking this team on, and so it's gonna, yeah, Wembley. Thank God I got that right without looking. Anyway, I should never mind. Anyway, all right, yo, enough of the shenanigans. So listen, they're going play. They're going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, Wembley Stadium, division rival, and so really right now, Texans are in a tough playoff race. I was checking it, and it looks like the yeah, it looks like the Texans right now, if the playoffs ended today, would be in the sixth seed, which is crazy to me. Um, but yeah, that's behind Buffalo. That's behind Kansas City, obviously, because Kansas City's head of the division. But yeah, that's just crazy to me. That's sitting at 5-3 right now. Jacksonville, they're sitting at 5-4. Excuse me, they're sitting at 4-4. And so um, it's going to be a tough game. That's for sure. And so the last time we had Jacksonville, um, Gardner Minshew, was making his first start. There wasn't any Gardner mania, none of that. It was just regular Gardner Minshew. And so, with that being said, things have completely changed. Uh, for the in the case of like the Jaguars, things have completely changed for them. So, and for the in the case of Jaguars, things have changed for them for the better. So Gardner comes in, to replace Nick Foles, who was injured like the week before, and so now they're off to the start. They start 0-2, then they start, building up a couple wins after that. Lose two more games. Then after those two game losses, they go ahead and they win two more after that. So with that being said, here they are. Supposed to be like a home game or whatever, but this is actually like well, it is their home game. And you know what? Not even technically their home game. This is probably like their second home game. What I mean by that is, for the Jaguars, this is their seventh matchup over here in London, and this is the Texans first, so they're familiar with how to move around. Probably, definitely familiar with how the time zones work and all this other stuff. So nothing's really going to catch them off guard. So let me just go ahead and go right into just a few things that the Texans need to do. So starting off with the whole London or the whole London scene. Yeah, like I said just now, this is the Jaguars' seventh game over there, while this is the Texans' first. The Texans just have to not get caught up in the moment that they're playing overseas in a football game. Like a lot of these guys grew up probably vaguely remembering NFL Europe, so it really wasn't like no big thing, and so maybe they've probably just watch you know like all the the NBA players do the FIBA or go play overseas in the Olympics or just stuff like that, or you know that's all they could really fathom as far as like American sports is really going over there. Anything, nothing really outside of the Olympics or anything like that, but. Um, yeah, what I will say is Texans just cannot get caught up in that moment. They have to go in there and they have to treat this like an actual like road game in Jacksonville. You know, ain't no telling how these fans are going to act. Since Jacksonville's been there like 7 times already. They Jacksonville probably got their own little fan base going like over there. So Texans definitely got to come with it in this game. They got to play like they're in Jacksonville. Expect a hostile crowd and all that other stuff. So definitely got to get that going. Second thing, so this is a different Gardner Minshew, as I mentioned, as I said before. He made his first start week 2. And so far for the year, he's thrown 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Like that's pretty damn good. Um, but he also has one game where he's throwing for less than 200 yards. So um, he's a good passer so far. He's got good weapons around him. DJ Chark, steady rising up and just kind of yes, DJ Chark steadily rising up, becoming like their number one receiver if he isn't already. And so Minshew, he's proven to be like on able to handle things like on his own. So um what we'll have to do is, we'll have to repeat the sack performance that we laid on him. So, mind you, that first game, that was, his first game. So he didn't really know what was going on, blah, blah, blah. But as I mentioned also before, he's had games where he's been sacked multiple times. And, I ran down the numbers. Outside of the 4 sack game that we had, he had 5 sacks against the yeah, he had 5 sacks against the Denver Broncos, and so yeah, we had got him. Yeah, so 5 sacks against the Denver Broncos, a game that they won, by the way. So of course, there's going to be a lot more to do as far as like just beating these guys more than sacks. So that's going to be the first thing that just needs to kind of get going. As for us, offensive line, they must repent the mistakes that they made in that week 2 matchup. So we're talking about the 4 sacks that Minshew suffered. Our own quarterback suffered, sacks as well. The crazy thing is, when I was watching the game, I made notes that in the first quarter, pass rush looked like it was coming along real good. Offensive line looked like they were protecting real good. Needless to say, after I made a note of that, offensive line just kind of got a little bit loose on me. So um, it's all good. It is what it is. Just don't let it happen again. We definitely need to make sure that it does not happen again. So yeah. Next thing that needs to be do. Next thing line needs to do. So yeah, in addition to repenting the mistakes, they need to provide good running holes for Carlos Hyde. So first 2 games, Carlos Hyde was kind of impressive. What I'm saying, not gonna lie. He had 90 yards in the first matchup against the Jaguars this season. So I definitely want to see him, kind of get the ball a little bit more and definitely, kind of run the clock out or whatever he needs to do. Or just get some ground yards going, get some, get the ground game moving, like we know it can move. We got we got a couple of good running backs in the backfield right now. We got Carlos Hyde, we got Duke Johnson. Duke Johnson, I've been seeing him do a lot of just kind of catching out the backfield and all the other stuff, and that's pretty much fine. But definitely, if you give him like some clean holes to run through, he'll definitely run through those. Do not let Fournette feel like he can just go off to make up for the last game. So last game we had Leonard Fournette. It was like 15 yards. I mean, excuse me, 15 carries for 66 yards that we held him to. So I mean, I'm pretty sure he's like super, super pissed that he couldn't really just get off like he wanted to. So um, let's just defense. Let's just keep that same energy. If make sure Fournette does not have the ability to go off. Let's just kind of hold him back. Just stop the run whenever we can. But yeah, do not make him feel like he can just go off and try to get this and go off in route of getting this W. So let's make sure we can get that going. But that is all I have. So just going back everything. First thing Texans need to do, um, repeat the sack performance, the 4 sacks against Gardner Minshew. That's definitely the first thing. The second thing, which should have been the first, but I got a brain freeze. Second thing is they can't get caught up in the home field advantage hype. They gotta, they gotta take it for what it is. Texans cannot, get caught up in that. They're like, oh, I'm playing in Wembley Stadium and all this other stuff and blah blah blah. They actually got to go in there and handle some business. Just treat it like a regular season game, or just treat it like a regular season game. When if they were visiting Jacksonville, in Jacksonville. Um, and yeah, a couple more things as well. Offensive line, they gave up 4 sacks in the last matchup. They got to do a lot better than that in this matchup, and provide good running holes for Carlos Hyde. Make sure he's able to like hit the holes and just go. So get that going, and do not let Fournette feel like he can go off to make up for the last game. So yeah, like I said, he had 15 carries for 66 yards. So don't make him think he can just come in and he has a chip on his shoulder that, he can just come in and just bowl us over. No, that's really not the case. So I definitely suggest, I definitely suggest just kind of meeting his challenge because he's going to be physical. So just kind of, meet him at that line of scrimmage and, just see how physical he wants to be. So, but yeah, that's all I got tonight. All I got for this week, rather. I'm Brandon Simmons for BrandonSimmons.biz. Holla black.